Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very, very special session that we are having today. I have with me a speaker who is an avid reader, amazing leader. By hobby, he's a portrait artist, amazing orator. People love to listen to him time and again. And of course, almost 3 decades plus in the industry, where he has seen all parts of industry, whether it is about product construction, whether it is about market cycle, investor behavior. And the behavior is one part where he has further improved his skills by passionately getting into behavioral finance and behavioral economic side of it. So with us today, we have Mr. Ajit Menon from PGIM Asset Management. Mr. Menon has been the CEO of PGIM Asset Management, and of course, he's starting a new journey where he's going to give us few more insights about the one big topic, that is retirement planning. So let me once again welcome you all.
My pleasure to be here.
So nice, sir. So one part which is about the retirement, is it really practically being implemented by investors, or they understand this concept very well or not? I mean, let's start with this.
Yeah, and you're right, Anjaneya. I think this topic of retirement and the problems of planning around retirement is not something specific to India. It's a global affair, right? People don't really plan for things which are either too far away. It's difficult to plan for things where you're not very clear about what you're going to be doing so in such a distant future. And some of the research, including some of the research that PGIM India has done, we do a retirement readiness survey. We've published 2 reports. We'll be publishing a 3rd one. The insight that we have from it is that when people invest, they like to invest for happy goals. Happy goals like a child's marriage or their education, buying a house, buying a car, starting a business, going on a vacation, things like that. And for a lot of people, retirement is an unhappy goal. Right? For a lot of people, I don't think so much for professionals, but a lot of people in corporate life, it's an unhappy goal. They really don't, want to be left alone, not knowing what to do for the rest of that time. No respect from what job titles they had before, and not knowing what exactly they'll be doing, thinking about health conditions that they have seen in the family or, elsewhere. So I think the key thing is that a lot of people struggle with planning for retirement. And I do think, as you mentioned earlier, that one of the biggest and most important goal for people to plan for is retirement. Because if you think of all financial goals, whether it is about kids' education or buying a house or a marriage or a business, vacation, whatever, you can get a loan for all financial goals except for retirement. Right? Now, there is a product called a reverse mortgage in Western markets. It's also there in India, but it's not a mature product. It's not a very flexible product, so it has not yet developed as much as it should. Right. So there is no conventional loan that you can take for retirement, but you can take conventional loans for every other financial goal. So to me, therefore, retirement should be the priority when you're starting to invest and putting some money aside really long term for that goal. And it continues to be challenging, which is why I like the subject and like to talk about it. And I'm sure we'll bring out more insights about it in this talk.
Let me bring out that special insight. Yeah. So I was seeing that your famous video on YouTube, which is about retirement, where you connected dots or connected angles of retirement with Mahabharata.
Right. Where it went a bit viral.
It went really big way viral, and of course liked by many. I would request you if you can share some.
For sure. I mean, I'd love to share that. And as you mentioned earlier, I like reading a lot, and I read varied subjects. And our itihasa, as we call it, I mean, I don't like to call it mythology. I think itihasa is the right term when you think about the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Itihasa essentially means it happened thus. So it is a real story of what, an ancient story would have been and characters would have been. And especially the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, they're all so beautifully written that, there can be esoteric interpretations that people can make. And this one that you're referring to is actually one of those esoteric interpretations of the Mahabharata that I had read, written by my uncle, actually, who introduced me to this beautiful subject of, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, where he says that if you think about Mahabharata, there are people who say that the Mahabharata is also something that happens inside of you, inside of a human being. So if you think of Dhritarashtra as the blind king, Dhritarashtra is the brain. The brain does not take any decision on its own. It has to get inputs, right? What it sees and what it smells and what it hears. And then based on that, it reacts or acts. So the brain is Dhritarashtra. The 100 Kauravas, or the sons of Dhritarashtra, are essentially, while we know they're the villains of the Mahabharata piece, they are sort of the 100 different negative influences that happen on the brain, right? And it's actually said that Duryodhan, Dushasan, they're representative of anger and jealousy, which are the worst emotions in man. So the 100 Kauravas are negative emotions that influence the brain. Now, if you want to defeat these negative emotions that come to you, you need the 5 Pandavas, right? And every human being just has 5 senses, right? Of sight, of smell, of taste, of hearing, and of touch.
Fantastic.
So if you can sharpen your 5 senses, then you should be able to overcome all of your negative emotions that affect your brain. Now, there is obviously a role for Draupadi. Draupadi is purpose. She keeps the 5 brothers together, right? And she says, when she lets down her hair after being humiliated in the court, she says, I'm only going to tie my hair back with the blood of Dushasan who humiliated me in court. And she puts all the 5 brothers on one purpose, right? To get to that point. So purpose, just sharpening the 5 senses is not enough. You need a clear purpose to guide you towards a destination. And then there's Krishna, right? And Krishna is your Sarathi, the conscience, the voice inside of you that tells you what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma, what is adharma. That voice is Krishna guiding you at all times. But for me, of course, the one character that intrigued me when I was reading this is who's Karan. Right? Yeah, because Karan is the eldest brother of the 5 Pandavas. He just ends up on the wrong side and he's killed. And the interpretation is that Karan is ego. Every human being has an ego. And if you really want to win the battle, if you want to win the Mahabharata war that happens, that you're in, then one important thing that needs to happen is that you should not have an ego. Your ego should be killed. Your ego should be suppressed, right? And therefore, Karan has to die. Right? And so when you think about it, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, it's somebody's ego that comes in the way of something not being achieved or something not being done or something being upset and whatever. So I think this is a beautiful interpretation of the different characters and how it relates to a human being and what happens inside of one. So that's the interpretation that everybody liked.
Inspiring. I must say, the correlation that you brought in is amazing.
Right.
One part which is about Sarathi.
Yes.
You said Krishna, the Sarathi, is the inner voice.
Right.
Can this inner voice be outside voice also, somebody assisting you, some advisor, distributor, or somebody who can actually...
Of course. And think about it, right? Krishna was the Sarathi and, he's the one who's guiding Arjun and to win the battle as well. And so I do think that in every person's journey in life, you will have people that you look up to, people who inspire you, people who motivate you and things like that. Now, when it comes to specifically the financial journey, I think that it's important to have a Sarathi for that journey as well. And in my own personal case, I've been in this. I've had a 31-year career. 26 of that has been in mutual funds. I've been a CEO for almost 8 years, but I've never managed my own money, and I've had it done through an advisor. Right? For almost 14 years now, my family, we've had a financial advisor who sits with us and has planned all of our goals, our kids' education, our retirement. We have a full-time help at home, so she's been with us for 22 years now. So figuring out a little pension for her when she retires. All of these little goals, they have planned for us. The financial advisors planned for us. And the reason that I could retire at 55, I think, is because of the financial plan. And if it wasn't for my advisor, I think I wouldn't have been able to do it. So there is a role for an advisor. A lot of people think they can do it themselves. But, I have if I were to sort of try and make sense of it for people, I would say that every adult needs to feel in control of two things in their life: health and wealth.
Wow.
Right? Now, if you try and do this yourself, you could end up, being wrong. So, for instance, when it comes to health, you could take some OTC medicines and things like that, right? When you have a little ailment and you know about it. But supposing something happens to you which is serious and your life is at stake, you will go to an expert, right? Similarly, I think when it comes to finances, which is the other big pillar for any adult, there is some part that you can do yourself, and you're going to be responsible for your budgeting and your saving and things like that. But when it comes to the serious investing for your life's financial goals, I think an expert is required. And I'll also explain why I think, as an analogy between both health and wealth, why this is so. When you think about surgeons, for instance, there is a rule that surgeons can't operate on their own family members, right? Because your emotions are so high that it could make an error. It could cause an error, right? And so there is a rule that surgeons should not be operating on their closest near and dear ones. I think money is another between health and wealth. Money and wealth is very emotional for people. If you try to operate on it yourself, you're bound to make some errors. So what you need is an expert who is emotionally in a different state than you, who can be objective about what you should do and what you should not do. That sort of encapsulates what I think is the real value of an advisor. A good, competent, trusted person who is in a different emotional state than you, so that they can guide you in a way that you don't make errors and you stick to the path of where your goals are going to be.
You mentioned about ego, karna,
Yes.
retirement as a goal or a purpose, and a doctor not operating on self, or of course the relatives or close ones.
Right.
Now, is retirement a goal which people are ready to accept? Whether it is about ego, whether it is something else. Because retirement is child's education, buying a house, all these are emotional and dreams and wishes.
Right.
But retirement is something which is slightly different.
Right.
Is it ego which makes an individual just avoid it for a period? Or
no, I don't think that it's as much any role of ego, but you would be right if if we were to just connect this back to a very biological reason in the way that the human brain is wired. Now, I don't want to make it over technical or complicated, but a lot of research and a lot of experts who think about it, they basically say that it's very difficult for a human brain to sort of be, sticking to a very disciplined path for a goal which is so far away. Right. And when I say far away, it's not about a young person investing for a retirement goal at 50 or 55 or 60. I'm also talking about the journey after that 50 and 55 till you are 80 or 85, right? Let me give you an example of this, right? If I were to say, Anjaneya, imagine yourself as an 85-year-old, your 85-year-old self, and explain to me a week in your life. You're going to struggle to tell me that because you've never thought of it. Right. But if I were to tell you, explain to me your daughter's wedding, right? Now, that's a picture that you have, you and your wife vividly seen because you've seen it in movies, you've sort of, gone to people's weddings and you want it in a certain way. Or if I tell you, tell me about your dream house, you can very readily talk about some of these things. Right. I don't think we have enough conversations with ourselves or as an advisor-client conversation to say, what do you see yourself doing in your retirement? What I'm trying to say is, just as I explained about the Mahabharata, or we talked about the ego part, I think there is a very strong reason for us to visualize, very vividly visualize what our retirement is going to look like, what are we going to do, what is the purpose that we will work on, how are we going to see ourselves at 80 or 85 or even 90. We know longevity, that we're going to live long. We know medical science has improved. But we just sort of shut our eyes to say, I don't want to think that far. And it's true. The human brain, it finds it very difficult to think that far. My suggestion is that, or rather, to answer your question as to why people find it difficult, I think it's because people don't visualize it. Right? And I think it's important to frame these things in conversations between husbands and wives and, together to say, how do you see ourselves when we're doing that? I'll give you an example of myself. Okay. So my visualization of retirement is dancing with my granddaughter at her wedding.
Oh.
Okay. Now, when you think about this, dancing with your granddaughter at your wedding, it's a
Right.
vivid picture. Okay. It also brings the wedding part into it. And I want to dance with my granddaughter. I think about walking or running a 5-kilometer marathon at 90 with my wife, right? Because we're both sort of fitness enthusiasts in that sense. Now, it's very visual, right? To old people, we're not going to win it, but we're going to complete that 5-kilometer race. It's got to be an achievement, right? Or writing a book. So many things, starting a business and, working on some impact. Even if you had the money, just being physically and mentally occupied with an NGO, creating an impact for your community or for whatever the cause may be. I think it's important for people to do that. And since people don't do that, it's very difficult for them to stick to the discipline of saying, what am I doing all of this for? Right. But you're very clear when you say, I'm doing this for my kids' wedding, kids' education, buying a house, buying a car. But this is a little dhundla sa. It's a little,
hazy in this.
Hazy. Yeah. And I think that's why people find it difficult.
Interesting. So you mentioned about your own retirement part of it. So let me just bring in two contrarian keywords here.
Okay.
One is, if I have not planned for my retirement properly, I'll work longer. So work longer is one.
Sure.
Second is retire early.
Right.
So retire early, is it a dream, a wish list only? Because I don't think anybody actually retires and stops working.
No, that's exactly the point, Anjaneya. You hit the nail on the head. I don't think a lot of people, when they think about retiring early, they actually mean that they don't want to do anything and they want to sit on a beach and enjoy. Because a lot of people who've actually done that in 6 months find themselves too frustrated that they're not doing something, right? I think for a lot of people it is, okay, let me just dial it back. We've done retirement research at PGIM India. And I think that one of the things that we realize is that the word retirement is a negative word for a lot of people, right? When you hear the word retirement, it's like, like it's going to be like, I'm going to find it very difficult to walk. I might have blood pressure and diabetes like my uncle or my neighbor, and those kind of negative thoughts that come in, right? Also because you're fearful or anxious about what are you going to do? What are you going to work? Are you going to earn, not earn? All of those kind of things. So I feel that one of the things that people should do is to reframe this as financial freedom rather than retirement as a goal, right? Financial freedom, everybody wants, right? True. Whether you're 30, 35, 50, whatever. And what we mean by financial freedom is to have enough money to be gainfully engaged in things that you love, and it could mean that you're earning from it as well, for the rest of your life. Right. Because I think the conventional working environments that we've all in generations grown up with is actually majburi. Right? हमने नौकरी कर लिया, अपने घर चलाना है, you have to take care of parents, you have to take care of kids, and we've got into careers and stuff, and not everybody is so passionate about the job that they're doing, and therefore they don't want to see their boss's face next morning, or they're frustrated at work. It's so many emotions, right? And some people love their job, and some professionals, doctors, and they love their job. So it's not a common brush for everybody. We've talked to people who say, who talks about it? I'm going to work till I'm 80, 85. I'm a doctor. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm a lawyer. Professionals can. But when you talk to corporate people, 9 to 5 jobs. For them, it's like, boss, I want to get out of this rat race at some point quickly. And I think it's important, if I were to just, in very brief for this, and we can talk more about it, to say that the biggest risk when you think about retirement is the fact that you can earn money from just one skill. It's not the corpus, it's not the money, it's not how much you will have, how long will it last, or whatever. Just imagine it this way. You know to earn money only from one skill. That whatever's the job that you're doing, even if you're a doctor, chartered accountant, lawyer, whatever it is, you just have one skill from which you're earning.
So are you saying even if a person is working, whether in job or a business, that person should plan for something else, second source of income?
Absolutely right. Now, what we found in our research that we did, PGIM India report, is that most people who said, or almost all people who answered saying that they felt ready for retirement, all of them had a second source of income. part of them had a second source of income coming from, say, rental or something like that. But it's not that. The happiest, the most people looking forward for the retirement, that part, which was 36, I think it went up to 47% in our second survey post-COVID, were people who said, we have a secondary source of income from a second skill. So to me, I think the discussion around retirement, call it financial freedom, the way I would like to, is that if you can think of a second skill that you have from which you can earn, that's important, okay? From which you can earn, then I don't think you'll be ever dependent on anybody for the rest of your life. You don't have to worry about corpuses and things like that. You won't be dependent on your kids, right? Forget about it. You have a very big second advantage. Because you have a skill that you love and that you're passionate about, from which you're earning something, and it could be 20,000, 15,000, 30,000, it doesn't matter. You're going to be mentally happy and occupied, which will keep your body physically healthy. So what do people think about? When I talk to some of my friends, they said, boss, mujhe itna jeena nahi hai, right? I have seen a lot of people last 5 साल तो यार मैं पड़े रहूंगा bed पे, or I will be in a hospital. I don't want that. So most people want to live a very healthy life, whatever life they lead, and they want to die in their sleep, right? They don't want to hang around in an ICU or changing diapers and the kids having to take care of them. That is the worry that people have in their head. Now, if that's the worry, I think whatever science knows of today is that you've got to move. You've got to be physically active, mentally active, have a purpose, and be stress-free or happy. How would you do that? Work on something that you love doing. Passion. You may love to teach. You may love pets. You may love fitness. You may love, you have a skill for languages, or, you want to advise. You want to be a consultant. You want to create content. There's so much. We ourselves have created a report at PGIM, 50 different hobbies that people have monetized: organic farming, baking, yoga teacher, this, that, and the other. So some people have had hobbies since their college days and they've not done something about it. Some people want to pick up new skills. So yes, you're right. One good answer is, whoever you are, whatever profession you are in, whether you're corporate or professional, think of a second skill from which you can earn. And don't worry about that earning. Don't worry about, अरे मैं तो 3-4 लाख कमा लेता हूँ महीने का, ये करके मैं 10,000 कमा के क्या करूँगा? A 10,000 or 15,000 rupees SIP put aside for 10 and 15 years creates a big corpus by the time you get there, right? So I think don't be anxious about the corpus. A good advisor will be able to plan for it. But what you have to do for yourself, figure out your second skill.
Fantastic. It's profound, actually. Just one thing, of course, second income should not be conflicting with the first income.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not income from a rent or income from your investments. A lot of people say, "Mera to secondary income hai, mera investment hai, bada, whatever." No, boss. I'm talking of income from a second skill. Yeah, you look at the Western world, right? People who don't have a job, they'll drive an Uber. Yeah. Because you can drive, right?
Even in
India, maybe if you're driving an Uber, you make 20-30. Now, a lot of people will say, "Yeah, Uber thodi na chalana hai," right? Now tell me, everybody can teach. Correct? Yes. I know people who've been ex-army, they're now fitness instructors or yoga teachers. I know people who have a house and a garden, they love pets, they've started pet grooming services. I know people who love baking and they're baking birthday cakes and stuff, and they're earning 10, 15, 20,000 bucks. You love it. You do it for 10, 15 years and imagine the corpus that you will create. Right? That's it.
Okay. Changing gears, moving towards the execution side of this purpose of retirement. Right. This financial services industry is one part of it, but actually let's call it product industry. We have multiple entities, multiple product companies who are offering solutions, which are somewhere linked to the retirement purpose. Right. Be it mutual funds, be it insurance side of it, be it NPS or UPS by government and all. Correct. So which one, in your opinion, which suits everybody's retirement requirements? Your views on that?
Well, my view is that when you think about the portfolio that you want to create for your retirement, the best advice is to be as diversified as possible. Now, when I say diversification, I just don't mean, the conventional, okay, you have equity and you have fixed income and gold and real estate and things like that in your portfolio, right? I also mean that when you're thinking about all of these products, you think about the features of the product. Okay. Now, why I would say features of the product is to give you examples of something like a PF, which is a 15-year product, or an NPS, which you can only withdraw at the age of 60. Right. And like, in the NPS, you have to buy an annuity for 40% of it, and 60% of it can be taken as a lump sum. I believe there are changes that are coming to NPS very soon. In fact, from 1st of October, there will be newer changes, and you can withdraw after 15 years and things like that. And, for non-governmental employees, the annuity part can be 20% instead of 40%, and so on and so forth. So there are some changes coming. Right. But there's an important reason why I feel the diversification should not just be equity, fixed income and things like that, but also be open-ended, closed-ended, and a mix of insurance and all of this. Right. Let me put it this way. The first thing that people should think about is an emergency fund. Right? Now, while you're building a portfolio, the markets can do whatever. Right? And why I'm saying the markets can do whatever is because I don't think that all of your money for your retirement should also sit in the bank. Right? It should be able to beat inflation and last longer for you. And therefore, you should have some market participation in your portfolio. Now, whatever little market participation you have, it's going to mean that there will be some ups and downs in that journey. So one way to take care of that, or to buffer for it, or hedge for it, whichever way you want to call it, is to have a good emergency fund. Right? And when I say emergency fund, I believe that you should have whatever expenses, monthly expenses that you have in your house, maybe for 12 months, whatever that amount would be, 12 months of expenses for your house. Right. You should take that and keep it in a bank, right? Or a fixed income fund, a good, safe, liquid fund or whatever. Right. And the rest of it is the portfolio that you build, which could be equities and hybrids and a little bit of insurance and annuities and things like that you would have. And to me, don't disregard products like insurance annuities. Okay, because we can talk something here, and you're talking to an audience where the circumstances of everybody's household could be very, very different. Imagine a household where the father or the mother, whoever is the earning spouse, is very worried about what happens to the family after they go, right? Yeah. Maybe the other spouse is not very financially an expert or anything. Or maybe you have handicapped kids at home. Let's say, what if that happens? Or children who may not, you get worried about how they're going to handle it. Or you have other dependents. Now, imagine that this person has put all money in open-ended mutual funds because people advise that mutual fund sabse acha hai, and whatever. Now, when that person passes away, who's going to advise the rest of the family? Some neighbor, somebody who is going to say, yahan se nikalo, aap property kharid lo, gold kharid lo, aap isme invest karo, mere business mein dal do. And, it can all be redeemed here because it's all open-ended. Now, if you had an annuity, it's fixed, guaranteed. Nobody can touch it. So, if all of this is sounding a little too complicated, I think the way that people should think is two parts. Think of a floor, right? A floor, which is a sort of a guaranteed kind of income or a cash flow that can come home, and then build the rest of the cash flow through an investment portfolio. Right. So to build that guaranteed flow, you can look at products that give you a fixed kind of return, which includes things like annuities. And therefore, for young people investing for your retirement, don't disregard things like contributing to your PF or putting money into an NPS product. So it's important, therefore, for that young cohort as well. Yeah. For those who are retiring or are retired, a combination of these annuities, which can create a floor for you, having a small emergency fund on the side, and the rest of the portfolio can be a combination of good, high quality fixed income and equity mutual fund products, which includes even things like gold ETFs and things like that. Right. And we sort of at PGIM, we sort of talk about dividing that into 3 buckets, and and there is a way that these 3 buckets can actually help you make your money last for longer, but we can discuss that later. Yeah. But that's what I would say in terms of products. Of course, sometimes my friends ask me, yaar, ye sab chhod, mujhe ek product bata, and all that. Then it becomes a little difficult. But yes, there are answers to that as well.
Interesting. So here, your major part of your career has been on mutual fund side of it.
Right.
Let me just bring in mutual fund solution to it.
Okay.
So does mutual fund really has a solution to retirement which covers all parts of the retirement, be it cash flow, annuity, be it emergency corpus, be it growth, whether it is about a strategy or whether it is a kind of product category in mutual fund which can
actually, except for an a typical annuity that an insurance company can sort of guarantee as you purchase an annuity for the rest of your life and after your life, maybe for your surviving spouse and things like that. There is no product like that in mutual fund.
Right.
But in mutual funds, what people can do is use the feature of an SWP, a systematic withdrawal plan, from a corpus to make sure that there's a sort of fixed amount that is coming to your account every month.
Right.
Of course, your corpus can be moving up and down, which is why you need a good advisor to think about where your portfolio should be allocated. And then there are products to create emergency funds like fixed income products, liquid funds, and things like that as well. And there are very high quality equity funds. And I'm a big fan of hybrid products as well, which is, got equity and fixed income in it, because it gives you a smoother ride in terms of your return that you get on your portfolio without volatility. And I was just telling you that earlier that sometimes my friends ask me, Ajit, ek product bata mutual fund ka which will help me in every way, right?
Yes.
And to me, that product is the balanced advantage fund category. Right? And that's only available in mutual funds. That's balanced advantage fund. The balanced advantage fund category is a hybrid fund category.
Right.
All mutual fund houses which have this balanced advantage fund product, they all follow some formula for figuring out what should be the allocation of equity within the total portfolio. Balance is fixed income, good quality, high quality fixed income, right? Now, there is some formula that somebody will follow. Okay, I will look at the earnings or PE or PB or, or a combination of factors and things like that. But the fundamental point about the balanced advantage fund is the formula makes sure that you're not buying into the market when it's expensive. So it'll reduce the equity proportion if the markets are too bullish or too much. And then it will increase the equity proportion when the market is cheaper and it's available at a discount.
Right.
And I think why I say that this is the sort of silver bullet product that I like for those people who want to start off or who want to say that, boss, this is too complicated. I want one product category that I feel I should be recommended. I recommend the balanced advantage fund because the only mistake an investment person can make is buying something expensive. And we've seen the trend. I mean, when markets are up, everybody wants to put money. When markets are down, nobody wants to put money. They're scared, which is actually the reverse. When the market is down, you should be looking for good companies available at a discount and buying them so that you can make better returns. And when it's high up, you should be staying away and booking your profits or whatever. The balanced advantage fund does it automatically. And therefore, it overcomes your human bias for reacting to the markets getting in, getting out at the wrong time and things. The balanced advantage fund will do it automatically based on the expensiveness or the cheapness of the market. To me, therefore, best product for somebody who's investing for retirement, investing after retirement. I think this is a great product that smoothens your ride compared to most of the other product categories. The multi-asset category is the other one, but I would say balanced advantage is the best.
Just sticking to this point. So in hybrid categories of mutual funds, you have conservative hybrid, dynamic, aggressive, pure balance fund, and balance advantage and multi-asset. So if you have to stack up, like in your preference, which suits the most, I understand BAF for balance advantage is rank 1. What are the others?
Just a little earlier, I think I referenced the 3-bucket strategy from PGIM. And what we say is that, and I'll give it to you in the form of an example. Okay. And please note here that when we in the mutual fund industry or even on the distribution side today, when we talk to clients, whether through a podcast or through a media, there are certain restrictions on us in terms of the rate of return that we assume when we are saying things, right? Because हम कोई भी नंबर उठा के हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि ऐसा आपका कॉर्पस बनेगा, whatever. People's expectations are 15-20%, things like that. So AMFI, or under SEBI's guidance, issues almost on an annual, 6-monthly annual basis, what is the rate of return that you can use for different categories when you are projecting your return for the future.
Oh,
yeah,
and
they
it's
do that.
there.
It is very much, and every distributor is supposed to follow that. And every AMC is supposed to follow that. So if you look at the conservative category, they would take a 12-year, average of the median return, and they would give that number. It's about 8%-ish,
Right.
plus, but
Yeah.
I'm saying 8%-ish. Then the hybrid category is about 9%-ish or
Right.
10%-ish, right? And equity is not more than 12.4,
Right.
right? So you have to use these numbers. Now, I'm going to give you an example by using these numbers, right? So if somebody had, let's say, a corpus of about 2.2 crores, 2.25 crores,
Right.
they wanted a monthly income of 1 lakh rupees from this 2.25 crores, 1 lakh every month. And they also wanted to inflation adjust it every year, because महंगाई बढ़ती रहेगी तो ये 1 lakh 6%, 6% inflation, so you keep adjusting it.
Correct.
Supposing this 2.25 crores was put into a very conservative product, whether mutual fund or a bank, how long would this corpus last? It would last for about 22 to 23 years. Now, coming back to your point, if we take the same 2.25 crores, the same requirement of a 1 lakh income every month, the same inflation adjustment of 6% every year, se ye badhna chahiye. And if you break it up into 3 buckets, one bucket is a conservative hybrid product, right, where equity is normally 20 to 25%, thereabouts. 25% is the limit. The second bucket is the balanced advantage hybrid bucket. And the third bucket, you can take a good diversified equity bucket, equity fund.
Okay.
And you do nothing. You just take the 2.25 and break it up into 33%, 33%, 33%. Conservative hybrid, balanced advantage, diversified equity, right? How long do you think this corpus will last? It lasts forever.
Forever.
Forever. Right? Because when you start withdrawing from the first bucket, and it's the least volatile bucket, right? You don't want any volatility when you conservative. It lasts you for roughly about 7 years, right? 1 lakh rupees every month, adjusted for 6% inflation every year. When you go into the second bucket, it will last you for another approximately 11 years, right? By now, your third bucket of diversified equity has got 18 years to compound. That has now become such a corpus that it lasts forever. You can break it back into the 3
and
buckets.
Then you reallocate it into 1, 3, 1.
Now, I said that 2.25 crores ka corpus and 1 lakh monthly withdrawal. What if people don't have that?
Correct.
And they still want a 1 lakh withdrawal, right, per month. And you don't have it. You just have, say, 1.5 crore only. You don't have this. That is where a secondary skill and a secondary income starts coming. If you were earning 30,000-40,000 bucks doing something, teaching or doing whatever you can do to earn 30,000-40,000 rupees a month, you keep putting that as an SIP into the third bucket, right? Maybe a 1.5 corpus will last you only 20 odd years. But by the time you get to the 20 years, this SIP would be taking you for another 20-25 years, right? Enough corpus for it. So that's the power of a secondary income from a secondary skill. So the question that you asked was about the hierarchy of funds to use. And I think conservative hybrid as a product from which you can do your first withdrawals as you retire, so that there's no volatility. Your second bucket being a hybrid bucket. And your third bucket that you touch the last, just a good, clean, diversified equity fund. And the probability, therefore, of success of making your money last longer is, according to us, the highest if you follow this kind of a approach. Of course, to tailor make it for your requirement, a good financial advisor will do it. So I keep coming back to have a good financial advisor.
So coming back to Sarthi part of it.
Yes.
So now Sarthis, they of course, that's again changing gear and moving from product to the Sarthi side of it. Okay. So moving to Sarthi side of it. Now Sarthis or the intermediaries, distributor, advisor, whatever name we give, they are facing a couple of challenges today. Whether it is related to technology, whether it is related to the investor behavior, which of course remains consistent or keeps on evolving. It is about the skill side of it. So what are the things which can make them equipped to deal with the investor, one part of my question would be to equip themselves. Second part would be the behavioral side, which is your expertise again.
Okay. Well, I think that one of the issues as far as what advisors face, if you were to keep it very simple, is that if they are trusted by their clients, there's no problem, right? They can build their business. They will be able to guide their customers well. Their customers will listen to their advice because the customers trust them.
Correct.
So the real question is, how do you become trusted?
Yeah.
And there is a formula for that, right? And scientifically, researched by Harvard, the Sherry Levitin group, that there are qualities of a human being that make them more trustworthy by clients in all professions, even in personal life or professional life. And it's essentially empathy, integrity, vulnerability, competency, and credibility.
Wow.
So empathy, integrity, vulnerability, competency, credibility. And the last two, competency and credibility, is what you said, having the skill, knowing, how to do the asset allocation, portfolio construction, the exams that you have done, the understanding of the equity markets, fixed income markets, interest rates, all of those little things.
Yeah.
Those come from the outside of the person. You can do a course, you have JM's fantastic research platform and the technology available for them to do all of the research. So it's not very difficult. The difficult part is the first three, right? Which comes from inside of you. Integrity, empathy, vulnerability. Now, integrity, I don't have to explain to people, right? Doing the right thing, right? Empathy, again, I don't think I have to explain to people. Empathy is that, you're a really good listener and you're able to empathize with the other person's situation. Right. Rather than wanting to say what you want to say, what you feel, what you want, you hold on, listen to the person, and the other person should feel that I am being listened to.
Yeah.
Most advisors make this mistake of saying, मुझे पता है क्या बोलना है और मैं पहले ही बोल दूंगा. I'll tell first what I want, instead of listening and asking questions and sort of getting a response. Now, okay, fine, empathy भी आपको समझ में आए, but vulnerability, right? That's a little tricky. Vulnerability is the courage that you have to be able to say, I don't know, to a question from a client. A lot of people feel that अगर मैंने customer का question answer नहीं किया तो वो सोचेगा कि ये क्या advisor है. But actually, the customer, if you in that process, you end up giving any answer. आपको कुछ ना कुछ बोलना है, आपको पता भी नहीं होगा, लेकिन आप कुछ घुमा फिरा के बोल दोगे. ये घुमा फिरा के जो बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, sometimes when we ourselves don't have the conviction of something, that is the breaker of trust. There is no harm in telling the client that आप ये जो मुझसे पूछ रहे हैं, ये अनलिस्टेड वाली जो AIF की कैटेगरी है, ये बिटकॉइन वाली बात जो आपने कही, ये प्राइवेट एक्विटी, इसके बारे में हम रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, हमारे वहां पे वर्कशॉप्स चल रहे हैं, हमारी कंपनी से बात हो रही है, आपको अगले हफ्ते या इस महीने के एंड तक आई विल कम बैक एंड आई विल गिव यू द करेक्ट वे टू अप्रोच दिस. यू डोंट हैव टू गिव एन आंसर देन एंड देयर कि बिटकॉइन मत करिए, आप ये मत करिए ना, वो मत करना, ये खराब है, वो बुरा है, ये अच्छा नहीं है, ऐसा है. Don't do that. The customer subconsciously says, boss, ये ज्ञान पाठ दे रहा है, right? So I think vulnerability, the ability to say, sir, इसका आंसर मेरे पास आज नहीं है, मैं I'll come back and I'll tell you because मैं इसके ऊपर स्टडी कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं आपको सही तरीके से गाइड कर पाऊंगा. ये भी तो एक आंसर है, अच्छा सा आंसर है देने के लिए. And you should be doing that research to give the right answer. Right. Don't just go and give any answer. That breaks trust. So I think empathy, integrity, vulnerability, competency, credibility. If advisors can, think about this, you will build a higher trust with your clients at a even at a subconscious level. The person will say, ये बंदा अच्छा है, वो हर चीज का आंसर या ज्ञान नहीं देता है, कुछ चीजें वो रिसर्च करके आता है अपने पास वापस से बोलने के लिए, and you will be more trusted in that sense. The difference, and a lot of advisors worry about technology, right? AI and chat GPT and your customer तो अभी advice online कर रहा है वगैरह. Tell me, if you ask a question to Google or ChatGPT, will it ever give you an answer that says, I don't know? मैं इसको सोच समझ के वापस आता हूँ.
No.
It will give you 17,000 links as far as Google is concerned, and ChatGPT will give you a full research paper कि बॉस इसका ये आंसर है. So मतलब क्या है इसका? In the sense that I think that technology just regurgitates whatever is there as content. But a human being at a very subconscious level creates more trust than technology. When the other person says कि बॉस ये बंदा vulnerable है, अगर उसको नई चीज आती है ना, वो बता देगा मुंह पे, यार इसके बारे में मैं अभी रिसर्च कर रहा हूँ, मुझे नहीं पता, मैं आपको इसका रिसर्च करके बता दूंगा. That creates more trust, and I feel that that's the attempt that advisors should do.
Amazing. You actually answered one question, which was my last one, but still I'll attempt it in case
For
if
sure.
you wish to add. So we are listening a lot about one keyword called Gen Z.
Yes.
Gen Z, as you mentioned, AI or Chat GPT and DIY methods and things.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
So Gen Z or Gen Y, I'm probably Gen Alpha and 1 year, 1 decade hence.
Right.
So we are going to deal with these clients as well.
Right.
And they are going to be our retirement customer
Mhm.
to begin with. At least,
Yeah.
their beginning of career and things. So is it like, we should be equipped with all these methodology, technology, or they are going to actually depend more on AIs and things and then move forward? While you mentioned at the beginning that a doctor should not be doing this, and one should actually look for Sarathi.
Yeah.
So which is I'm trying to understand purely from Gen Z and Gen Alpha and Gen Y perspective.
Yeah.
DIY is good, robo advisory or Chat GPT and things. So if you want to add.
So I think that there is a place for both. And especially the new generation, when you say Gen Z or Gen A, much of the research says that Gen A, for instance, don't like dealing with people. They're the COVID generation. They've grown up in isolation.
Right.
They don't like people. उनके खुद के माँ बाप दरवाजा बंद रहता है, right? और अपने iPad पे लगे हुए थे या गेमिंग में लगे होते हैं. So and that is them. That is how they figured out, and they will deal with life. They do their own research. There's also enough experts who are writing about the consumer, which is the Gen Z that you are talking about, who does a lot of research about what they want to do, and then they do it themselves. So I think advisors should be ready that there are all kinds of, there's a generational context to wealth and managing money. And each generation behaves differently with money, has different expectations about money, and they deal and engage with it differently. And अगर मैं एक सिंपल तरीके से अगर इसका आंसर दूं कि if you are looking to make clients out of these categories, then there is also some amount of research that suggests that if you want to build a big business and you want to scale your business, you want to grow your business faster, better, stronger, an advisor should ideally look for customers in his or her age group and not beyond it. So if an advisor is a 45-year-old person, then they should look for clients between 30 and 50. Right? Or 40 and 50, sorry. 45-year-old advisors, so 40 and 50. So ये age group के clients को ढूंढे. If you're a young advisor who's a 25-year-old advisor, by all means look for customers between the 25 to 30, 35-year age group. If you're a 50 or a 55-year-old advisor, look for clients between the 50 to 60 age group. You will be able to connect the context, your explanation of the world, of returns, of products, of risks, everything you will be able to match mentally because you all have grown up in the same generation and the same context of the world. But if you're a 55-year-old advisor who's trying to convince a 25-year-old client about why they should do this and that and should not do this or that, they will just listen respectfully for you, but they're not going to do it. Right?
Parent and child.
Exactly. And at the same time, if you're a 25 or a 30 or 32-year-old advisor and you're trying to, advise a 65-year-old client, they will probably give you some money out of sympathy, but they're not going to give you a large corpus. And therefore, I think there are two pieces of advice I'll give advisors that if you're looking to scale your business and grow your business. One is, there is definitely a context to people's life. किस generation के आप हो, उस पे बहुत मायने रखता है कि how you deal with money, how you think about risk. And therefore, please, if you want to grow a big business, focus on clients in your age group, plus minus 5 years, right? And if you want clients of all age groups, recruit relationship managers of that age group. So if you're a 50-year-old advisor and you have a small business, you want to grow your practice, you want young clients, please recruit a 25-year-old who's willing to come into the business and get them the NISM certification, teach them. They will go out and acquire these young clients because their language will match, right? The things that they do will match. If you are a 40-year-old advisor and you want 65 and 70-year-old clients as well, because paise unke paas hai, right? Zyada paise unke paas hai, then please recruit a 50-year-old person, ex-banker or whoever it is, into your office and get them trained, and they may know some to get them trained, and put them in charge of the older clients. You will see a better productivity and conversion as well, because mental match hona bahut zaruri hai.
This is
so that I think is the generational context of advisory.
This is a powerful statement, executable business model which you have given in the end. I think this is one area where we can actually say that every point that you made or every answer that you have given to our queries have been so precise in terms of executable ideas. Trust part, whether in your keyword, trust test, how to clear that trust test, whether it is about retirement being one goal where people are little aversive to accept it, one part of product, which product, which the hierarchy of product, 3 bucket formula. So everything is one thing which we have a takeaway. And I think
this is the job that we have for our customers, our responsibility. In the same way that I'm telling advisors, I mean, if there are customers who have this question in their mind कि आपने एडवाइजर को यूज करके आपने फाइनेंशियल प्लान बनाया और आप रिटायर हो चुके, and people ask me that, and then they ask me कि फिर अच्छा एडवाइजर बताओ ना, कैसे, how should we select our advisor? And I think my answer to that would be, if a client is looking to select an advisor, please select a qualified advisor in your age group. You're likely to find more trust and more associativeness with that person. Of course, the person needs the qualification. You can interview a couple of people. You don't have to go with the first advisor that you meet. But my only advice to clients who are looking for advisors is, please look for an advisor in your age group, and you're likely to probably have a better journey with that person. If they are qualified, they have the experience, that of course it goes without saying, but that's another way of another answer that people are looking for. So I hope that helps.
Great. So I'm actually out of my questions now.
Sure.
Because anything that you would want our partners who are watching this to have additional point which they can carry, or any message from your side for our partners?
I think for partners, I would say that, I have had, out of my 31 years, 26 years in this industry, and I feel that everybody wants returns, right? Clients want returns, obviously. And so as distributors, as advisors, we all want good returns. But please note that returns is not in our control. It's the markets and the process and whatever is the philosophy of the fund house, fund manager, the schemes, and all of that we read a lot and we research quite a lot. I think one of the things in this industry that we have not given a lot of importance to is to change our language with our customers to get them to focus on units. Right? To get your clients to say, आप units जोड़ते रहिए, retirement के लिए हो, बच्चे के लिए हो, गाड़ी के लिए हो, घर के लिए हो, आप units जोड़ते रहिए, क्योंकि industry काफी regulated है SEBI से, and very little scope for any mistake to happen. The great fund houses, great fund managers, each fund manager is following some style. सारे funds अच्छे हैं, कभी किसी का performance ऊपर नीचे होता है क्योंकि उनका जो style के हिसाब से वो साइकिल उनके लिए शायद अच्छा या खराब जा रहा होगा, बट दे ऑल कीप कमिंग बैक इन द साइकिल, राइट? सो आपने जो भी प्रोडक्ट आपको लेना है, जो भी AMC आपको अच्छी लगती है, आप उसको बिल्ड कर सकते हैं वो, और आपका जो कंट्रोल में है वो ये है कि आप लोगों को बोले कि सर आप जो भी आप पोर्टफोलियो बनाए, आप यूनिट्स जोड़ते रहिए म्यूचुअल फंड्स का. और एंड द रीजन आई एम सेइंग दिस फॉर एडवाइजर्स एज इट इज दैट, देखिए ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, जब मैं बिहेवियरल पार्ट बताता हूं, बिहेवियरल साइंस की बातें करता हूं, तो आप ये सोचिए कि हजारों सालों से जब इन्वेस्टमेंट की बात करते हैं आता गया है, तो क्या करते हैं हम? सोना खरीदते, गोल्ड खरीदते. गोल्ड कैसे खरीदते हम? ग्राम्स में, तोला में. अच्छा, रियल एस्टेट दूसरी बड़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट है। बहुत हजारों सालों से रियल एस्टेट और जमीन तो लोग खरीदते हैं। जमीन और रियल एस्टेट खरीदते कैसे हैं? स्क्वायर फीट में, एकड़ में, है ना? लेकिन हम म्यूचुअल फंड कैसे खरीदते हैं? परफॉर्मेंस पे। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि यहां पे एक बहुत बड़ा आंसर है, सोल्यूशन है, कि हम अगर क्लाइंट की अटेंशन को यूनिट्स जोड़ने पे लगाए, तो आप देखिए, अगर आप यूनिट्स का अगर आप चार्ट बनाएंगे ना, तो वो वन वे लगेगा ऊपर। अगर आपने रिडीम नहीं किया हो तो वन वे लगेगा। आप रिटर्न्स का चार्ट बनाओ ना, तो ऐसे दिखेगा ऊपर नीचे, जिससे ब्लड प्रेशर ऊपर नीचे होता है। यूनिट्स के चार्ट ऐसे होता है, जोड़ते जाइए आप, एसआईपी यूनिट जोड़ दीजिए। और इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप एनएफओ करो, कि 10 रुपए का एनएफओ करो तो यूनिट ज्यादा मिलेगी। आपके जो जेएम का जो रिसर्च है, पोर्टल है, आपने इतनी फैसिलिटीज दी है, ऑन दैट यू कैन सिलेक्ट द फंड्स दैट यू वांट, और उस अच्छे फंड्स की यूनिट्स जो है जोड़ते रहिए। तो एक ही एडवाइस है मेरा कि यूनिट्स आप जोड़ते रहिए और यूनिट्स पे फोकस कीजिए, कॉन्वर्जेशन को यूनिट्स पे लाइए। हर कस्टमर का एक रिटायरमेंट फोलियो खोलिए, उनसे बात कीजिए कि ये जो फ्यूचर है, फ्यूचर पे बहुत ज्यादा बात कीजिए। आप क्या करोगे, कैसे रहोगे, पिक्चर्स, विजुअल्स यूज करना अपने अपने एंगेजमेंट में कस्टमर्स के साथ, और किसी भी चीज को एक्सपेंसिव ना खरीदना, जिससे वो products like balanced advantage fund become very smooth products for customers. I think these are the 2-3 things. Trust बनाए रखना, उससे आगे I don't think you need to do. I think people already have.
It's a simple business.
Yeah, it is
simple interaction. So from rupee cost averaging or dollar cost averaging to value cost averaging.
That's a good way, that you get more units when the market is not expensive. Which is why, to me, if I were to go one step further, I would tell young people who are investors or even advisors, a top-up SIP in a balanced advantage fund, in 2-3 balanced advantage funds. Zip it, fill it, shut it, forget it. Right?
Amazing. So I think this has been a real great interaction with you. Every question, as I mentioned, has a takeaway which is practically implementable for all our partners, and I'm sure our partners, investors or clients who are also watching this, they also have some takeaways which they can carry and implement in their day-to-day functioning, day-to-day business. With this, I would like to say real thanks to Mr. Ajit Menon for sharing his time, insights, and his experience with all of us. Your connection of Mahabharata and retirement is something which we really take, and Sarathis who are there on the other side, they are looking at it, and I'm sure you have takeaways. Really, thank you, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure
so nice
to be here.
This we can go. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.